I'm Kelsey Affronte, an attorney here at Beresford Booth, and I want to talk to you today about what you can expect from your civil case while it's going through the Snohomish County Superior Court system. A little bit of background about me. I was a Snohomish County prosecutor for 5 years before joining Beresford Booth, so I am actually most comfortable in the Snohomish County courthouse. And now that I'm in civil practice, I have learned that Snohomish County is actually pretty unique in how they conduct their civil cases. So today we're going to talk to you about how it's different from other jurisdictions, tips on how you can handle that, and set your case up for success. As a caveat, I am going to only be focusing on civil action. So think torts or breach of contract, trust and estate, things like that, which would be separate from maybe a family law case or an eviction action. So what I want to start by talking to you about is how the Snohomish County Superior Court bench is constituted. So there are actually 15 judges on the Snohomish County Superior Court bench as of today. There will be 17 when Governor Inslee appoints 2 more judges because we are expanding the Snohomish County bench. And I know offhand that sounds like a lot of judges available to hear your action, but I'm going to break it down a little bit more so that you have a better understanding of why all 17 judges are not usually available. There are also 5 commissioners. And when it comes to Snohomish County, the commissioners and judges are both going to be handling your civil matters depending on what you're bringing before the court. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. So on this slide, I have included the judges' bios, the link to their biographies, as well as their schedules and availability. And I want to talk to you a little bit about how these things work together to help you prepare for whatever judge you are appearing in front of. So, for example, the most recent appointment to the Snohomish County Superior Court bench is Judge John Scott. He was previously a public defender. So, with John Scott and likely the next 2 appointments, they are going to likely start more on the civil side than the criminal side because they're anticipated to have some conflicts of interest. So John Scott used to be a public defender, and what that means is once he's transitioned out of the public defender's office, those clients still exist, and they're still going to be appearing in front of the court. And because he might be familiar with their matters, he's likely to have more of a civil caseload up front so that they can avoid those conflicts of interest, right? So you may be getting a judge seeing your case that has no civil experience. And that is the reason that I've included the judges' biographies here. You can take a look and see what type of law they were practicing before they were appointed or elected and how long they've been on the bench. So the level of experience they have seeing different types of cases while they've been on the bench. So that's why I've included the biographies, because you want to have a better understanding of your judge's background and experience when it comes to your civil case going before them. The other thing I've included is the judge's schedule and availability. So the thing that makes Snohomish County unique is 2 things. The first is that you do not get a judge pre-assigned to your case at filing, and you do not get a case schedule. And these 2 things in other jurisdictions happen at the same time. So I'm going to talk to you about what that looks like. When you file your case in a superior court in other counties, you get a case schedule and a judge pre-assigned like that. And that case schedule walks you through from the date of your filing all the way through to your trial date and gives you a list of deadlines. It also tells you that that one judge that has been pre-assigned to your case is going to hear every single motion or issue raised in your case, which means they're going to know that case front to back, just like you or your attorney. In Snohomish County, you do not get a judge pre-assigned. And in fact, you have to petition the presiding judge to get a judge pre-assigned to your case. And there are some qualifications about your case that are required. For example, the length of time that you anticipate a trial to last, being more than 2 weeks, or complicated legal issues that are going to need to be litigated more heavily than maybe your standard civil case. So because you're not getting a judge assigned to your case like you would in other counties, you could appear in front of a different judge every time you bring your case before the court. Now, the reason I bring that up is because this judge's schedule and availability shows you that for civil motions, the judges do a 2-week rotation. So you can review the schedule and see what judge would be hearing your motion. And then you can go to their biography and learn about their background and level of experience. But you also need to remember that they are unfamiliar with what has happened previously on your case. And some of them may have the time to review the entire docket, depending on, what is within the docket and the level of materials that have been previously provided to the court. Other judges may not have the time, and they're going to review the materials that you submitted specifically for this hearing. And so why that's important is because you need to educate the judge on what has happened previously in your case and why it is important to the motion or hearing that is currently before the court. So you kind of need to give them the background on what has happened previously and why it's significant for them to consider now. That is different, like I said, from other jurisdictions because the judge will stick with the case the entire way through. So they're more likely to actually have the ability to recall what happened at the last hearing, maybe without even looking at the docket. They would likely also have their own notes and other things like that. Whereas, in Snohomish County, the civil judge is looking at your case probably for the first and maybe the only time. So that's why you need to consider what judge is looking at your case, their level of civil experience, because you may have to educate them on some civil topics that maybe they haven't reviewed before. And then you're also going to have to educate them on what happened previously in your case. So the other reason that this is important in Snohomish County is because the commissioners and the judges work together depending on what type of motion hearing you're bringing before the court. You may end up in front of a commissioner instead of a judge or a judge instead of a commissioner, and both of their rulings are going to have an impact on how your case proceeds, right? So like I said earlier, there are going to be 17 judges, and there are 5 commissioners. Now, like I said, that sounds like a lot of judges ready to hear your matter. But when it actually comes down to it, you are unlikely to have that many judges available, right? So you have judges who are on their civil motion rotation, criminal rotation, the juvenile division rotation. And so that right there takes away 5 judges. So you're already down to 10 or 12. The other reason that it is maybe a disadvantage that you don't have a pre-assigned judge is because you do not have a trial blocked out on a judge's calendar. You have a trial call date. And what that means is everybody will show up at the presiding judge's courtroom and they will answer ready for your case, indicate the number of days they anticipate that it will last, and the judge will call through the calendar and try to fit you into a trial. And what that means is, let's say that you estimate your case is going to last 4 days, but a judge may only have 3 days of availability. So you're in a situation where you experience court congestion and your case is going to get continued and you get a new court date. The other thing that is important to know about civil trial call is that you are the second priority to the criminal cases that answered ready on the Friday before. So every Friday, the criminal attorneys show up and do the same thing. They answer ready, they indicate the number of days that they anticipate their case to last, and they go through the Sudoku of trying to get these cases sent out. Now, when I say that criminal has priority over civil, you're probably thinking, well, my case is just as important as Joe Schmo over there in the criminal division. And that's not to say you're not wrong. But when you think about it a little bit deeper, you get a better understanding as to why criminal has priority, right? Because we have a constitutional right to speedy trials. And so the criminal division is working within a much shorter time frame to get their cases to trial. It can be 60 to 90 days. And that's not to say the cases don't get continued, but that speedy trial is always going to be there. Whereas in civil cases, you do not have speedy trial. And in fact, right now, when you're requesting a trial date, you're getting a date anywhere from 12 to 14 months from now. So that's a big difference from getting a date 60 to 90 days from now. So the criminal attorneys are going to get their cases assigned out on Friday, and you're going to show up the next week and answer ready for your civil case. You could end up in a position where all of the judges available for the week are now in criminal cases, or maybe they're not in session or have something pre-assigned to their calendar in the middle of the week that's pretty large, and that's going to take them out of the rotation or the opportunity to hear your civil trial. And that is another reason why not having a judge pre-assigned may cause your case to actually last a little bit longer. Particularly with the criminal backlog that has occurred through COVID-19 and the amount of time that jury trials were suspended, that has created quite a large number of criminal cases answering ready and trying to go to trial, which then decreases your likelihood of getting set out for your civil case. So when you are going before the court for a motion before you go to trial, like I said, you may end up in front of a commissioner or a judge, depending on what type of motion hearing you're bringing before the court. And I just did a snapshot of the Snohomish County civil rules here so that you could see actually how specific and a little bit complicated this is. You have, on the left side, you have the motions that the commissioners are going to hear, but those are different from the motions that the judges are going to hear. And like I said, the judges are going to go through a 2-week rotation of civil motions. So a particular judge will be on the calendar for civil motions for a 2-week period at a time. So they're also going to have limited availability to hear civil motions. And that's why I included their availability on the prior slide, so that if you need to look at timing or what judge is going to be hearing the motion, you have access to their calendar pretty easily. So like I said, the commissioners and the judges are going to work together depending on the type of motion that you're bringing before the court. And all of those could have an impact on your case going forward. So I know that I've mentioned the case schedule quite a few times now, and this is what a case schedule looks like. In other counties, this is what you get when you file. And here you're looking at a case that was filed July 29th of 2021. And like I said, your trial date is probably going to be a year or more from the date of filing. And right here it shows it's almost exactly 1 year away, August 1st of 2022. So this also shows kind of the backlog that's been happening because of COVID and the inability to take cases to trial or get matters in front of the court, is that this length of time is expanding. It's getting longer. So case schedules are great because it gives you an explicit deadline for the main chapters of your case, if you will. So you can see here, you're going to have your deadline for mandatory arbitration or mediation, if that applies to your case. You have a deadline for when you have to exchange discovery or have depositions complete. So it gets everybody on the same page. And like I said, you only have one judge who is going to be assigned to this case. So they're also going to be familiar with the deadline in your case. In Snohomish County, you do not have this. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you don't have deadlines in your case, because as you can see in the case schedule, where it says KCLCR, this is the King County case schedule. That's King County local rule, local civil rule. And so what that means is the deadlines are within the rules. So there are still going to be deadlines that apply to your case. It's just going to take your attorney sitting down and working backwards and figuring out what those deadlines are, instead of this very explicit and detailed deadline that walks you through your case. So that is one thing. These are the two things that are the main difference in Snohomish County, is that you do not have a case schedule and you do not have a judge pre-assigned to your matter. And that can be a little bit of a disadvantage. So I've included here the Snohomish County local court rules, which, like I said, is going to be where you will find your deadlines for your case, because you do not have a case schedule. This is the great thing about Snohomish County, is that their Superior Court website is extremely detailed and easy to use. You just have to know what you're looking for. And that's why I've included some links here. But I would say that it's very user-friendly, and you can just do a Google search basically of the question that you're looking for, and it'll likely direct you to the specific portion of the Snohomish County website. So these are the things that are most important for you to consider. The first is that you're going to have a new judge assigned to your case almost every time you bring it before the court, and that includes trial. So you need to make sure that you're educating them on what's happened previously and why it's important. The other thing is that they're going to have varying levels of civil knowledge, and so you may have to educate them on your specific topic or case complaint or cause of action, because they may be unfamiliar. And when it comes to not having a case schedule, again, your attorney is going to be doing the work to figure out what the deadlines are on your case. And like I said, with pre-assigned judges, you will have, a trial call date in their calendar. And that's not the case in Snohomish County. So you sort of end up a little bit on call, if you will, and that's why they call it trial call. So this is my understanding of the Snohomish County Superior Court and how they are different from other jurisdictions. So if you have any questions about this, you can reach me here. I've also included a link to our website if you want more information about my background. I'm a part of the litigation team. So like I said, I am very comfortable in the courthouse, particularly in Snohomish County. I actually grew up here. So if you have something that is gearing up for any type of litigation in Snohomish County, please feel free to give me a call. I've included our office's number here, which is 425-776-4100. And thank you so much for your time.